So you want to turn Verso into a machine gun wielding god of destruction. Good, because in this build we're going to do just that. The creator of Expedition 33 mentioned that he loves and took inspiration from Sekiro to make the game. So I took inspiration from it as well and brought back everyone's favorite saint. This setup turns Verso into a relentless, high-speed, high-damage beast who deletes enemies before they can even blink. Let's break down exactly how perfection works, how to unlock his full potential, and why you'll never want to leave him out of your party again. Verso's perfection is easily the most straightforward mechanic in the game. He starts every battle at D rank, and with every attack he lands, he builds towards S rank. The higher the rank, the more damage he deals. Every hit he takes, however, drops his rank. So the goal is simple: attack as much as possible and don't get hit. To put this into perspective, D rank gives you no damage bonus. C rank boosts damage by 25%, B rank jumps it to 50%, A brings it to 100%, and S rank gives you a jaw-dropping 200% damage increase. That's why staying aggressive is everything with Verso. Use free aim, use basic attacks, use extra turns, and use multi-hit abilities. Whatever keeps that rank climbing. Verso doesn't hit his final form until Act 3. Before then, in Act 2, he's kind of awkward. He takes a ton of Lumina investment to shine, and without that, he's one of the harder characters to make work. He takes a ton of time to ramp up his perfection mechanic, and by the time he does, the fight is probably over. Additionally, he only really offers damage to the team, but the damage cap really stops him from reaching his potential in that regard as well, in Act 2. But once you have the build together, he starts to get rolling near the end of Act 2, and absolutely steamrolls Act 3. The first ability you'll use is Paradigm Shift. Now this move barely deals damage, but it's not meant to. Its real value is in its AP generation. It's a C rank boosted skill that hits 3 times, which helps build perfection early while refunding you enough AP to cast your stronger abilities. Ideally, you hit C rank quickly, drop Paradigm Shift, gain AP, and use that momentum to roll into more devastating moves. Next is Follow Up. Easily my favorite ability in Verso's entire kit. It stacks damage based on how many free aim shots you fired beforehand. And at S rank, it only costs 2 AP. That's huge. In the late game, you'll be sitting at S rank almost permanently, which means Follow Up becomes this cheap, ridiculous burst nuke. You'll regularly fire off 10, 12, even 15 free aim shots that burn, mark, and break enemies into a devastating follow-up, dealing some of the highest single target damage numbers in the game. In the early game, this ability will have much more niche use cases, but it's still very useful to have. Then there's Blitz. It's not amazing, but it gets the job done in early game setups. The AP cost is low and it gives you an extra turn on use. It also has a small 10% execute effect, which might come in clutch every now and then. The real reason you take Blitz is for the second turn. It's almost a free action, and in the early game, that matters. Unfortunately, it only hits once, so it's not great for perfection building. Still, it fills a utility niche until better options open up. Perfect Break is another key tool in the early game. Since you'll usually start fights at D rank, this skill becomes critical for skipping ranks quickly. It only requires B rank to activate, and if it hits a breakable target, you'll bounce straight to S. It only hits once, and you'll hit the damage cap every time, but the point isn't as much the damage as it is the rank skip. Endbringer, on the other hand, is pure death. If the target is stunned, this ability might as well be a finishing move. It hits 6 times, all of which usually cap out on damage. Even without the stun, it still outputs very strong numbers. Once you're in Act 3 and Verso gets multiple turns in a row, you can use Phantom Stars to break the enemy and follow it up with Endbringer to guarantee a kill. That's where it truly shines. And finally, Steeled Strike. This one is expensive and takes 2 turns to go off, but the damage is insane. In Act 2, you'll need to be cautious. Verso can't take damage while charging, so look for openings, especially against bosses with single target attacks. If the boss is a single target attacker, that gives you a 1 in 3 chance of nuking him on Verso's next turn. Once you've got Seal backing you up and extra turns to spare, this ability becomes a free nuke. If it lands, something dies. Simple as that. Verso's early game flow isn't pretty. You're basically just trying to ramp his perfection as fast as possible. Open with free aim shots and basic attacks to hit C rank quickly. Then cast Paradigm Shift to gain AP, which should also push you into the B rank territory. From there, you get to choose. Use Perfect Break to hit S, go for Blitz if you need a second action and execute, or prep for a follow-up once you've stacked enough free aim shots. It's not consistent and it's definitely not smooth. That's why I say Verso kind of struggles early. CL can kind of alleviate that. A support CL build that feeds him turns and buffs can completely help with his ramping problems. If you're looking for a support CL build, I have one on the channel. I'll throw the recommended early Pictos on screen here. They're also linked in the description. Focus on damage output and free aim Pictos, and dump as much Lumina into Verso as you can. He needs it. Monoko and CL can function without much investment. Verso can't. Once you hit Act 3, things change drastically. Paradigm Shift is gone. You don't need the AP anymore. Verso starts fights at S rank, and wasting time on a low damage move is pointless. Replace it with Phantom Stars as soon as you acquire it. This move deals massive AoE damage, breaks everything, and costs only 5 AP at S rank. It's fast, brutal, and synergizes perfectly with Endbringer. In fact, this combo alone can carry you through most of Act 3. Open with Phantom Stars to break all of the enemies, then drop Endbringer right after for a guaranteed kill on the highest health target. You'll also replace Blitz. At this point, the extra turn is redundant. Verso has Cheater and multiple free turns baked in. The execute effect is pointless because you're executing enemies from full HP instead with other moves. I consider this a flex slot. Personally, I run Speed Burst here. The reason is very niche. If Verso dies and revives, he restarts at D rank. Speed Burst is the best tool at that rank to bounce back and re-enter the fight strong. Now that Verso can act multiple times per round, his combo flow is wide open. You're starting every fight at S rank, fully loaded with all of your strongest abilities available. Follow-up is ideal for flying enemies or when you want a massive single target nuke. It hits the hardest, but it depends on how many free aim shots you landed beforehand. Steeled Strike, while a bit overshadowed in terms of damage compared to follow-up, remains a guaranteed option. It's consistent, has the anime style flash, and hits 13 times, perfect for moments where you don't want to gamble on the free aim RNG. Phantom Stars though will probably be your main event. You can spam this endlessly to break everything in sight while still doing absurd damage. You pretty much want to be using follow-up or Phantom Stars 99% of the time. It's also very important to understand that in the endgame, with the Pictos fully set up, Verso is a complete machine gun. Use his free aim shots religiously to mark, burn, break, gain AP, and deal damage to enemies before hitting them with whatever move you want. For weapons, early game gives you 3 decent options. Dualiso enhances basic attacks and gives you an extra turn, but it doesn't scale well with Verso's best stats. You'll have to do a little bit of respecking. Still, it's a decent way to give him a solid early game floor if you find yourself getting hit a lot. Lancerum is another stability weapon. It starts you at C rank and won't let you drop below that. If you're getting hit often and struggling to stay ranked up, this is another good pick. Then there's Contorso. It's easily the strongest of the 3. It scales with agility, gives you 100% crit chance at S rank, and triggers lightning strikes. Additionally, it gets you to S rank faster. The only drawback is that you get it a bit later than the other 2. Late game, there's only one great answer: Chevelum. It starts you at S rank, gives another 100% damage boost on top of that, scales with both agility and luck, and grants rush. It's completely unbalanced and works perfectly with everything this build is doing. Samoso is another option, but it's locked behind the hardest boss in the game, so most people won't really get it in time for it to matter. For stats, it's all about agility first. It boosts your speed and weapon scaling. Then invest in luck for crits and additional scaling. and round things out with Might for more flat damage. Verso doesn't want to get hit, and he will likely die in one shot anyway, so don't bother with defense or vitality. He'll be too busy killing everything to care. Now let's talk Pictos. I'll show the recommended ones on screen now. You can find them listed in the full leveling guide linked below. The two you absolutely need are Painted Power and Cheater. Painted Power is unmissable. Cheater becomes available after acquiring Esky, but don't grind it too early because the boss is brutal. Once you have all of the Pictos, you'll be machine gunning free aims non-stop, generating AP, burning them, marking them, and chaining breaks across every encounter. The engine runs entirely on these Pictos. Without them, the build falls apart, so be sure to invest heavily into Verso. Verso's best partner by far is CL. With Fortune's Fury and Intervention, she can give Verso extra turns and a double damage buff. That's all he needs to end entire fights in a single rotation. Fire off a dozen free aim shots, whittle everyone down, and then unload a follow-up that erases the last man standing with an 8-digit crit. Lune and Minoko also work great if you're running a break-heavy setup. Verso doesn't need them, he just becomes even more busted with them around. Verso starts out clunky, but by the end of the game, he becomes one of the most satisfying explosive characters in Expedition 33. With the right Pictos, CL support, and the Chevelum weapon in hand, he becomes a non-stop storm of gunfire, chain breaks, and raw damage. Free aim your way through entire encounters, finish enemies with god tier follow-ups, and enjoy being the coolest damage dealer in the game. Again, check the link in the description for the full leveling guide, and let me know the biggest damage number you've ever seen with follow-up. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
Ready to strike.